Welcome back to the channel. In this new video, I'm going to share with you the 6 factors that you have to consider when you want to invest on the Malawi Stock Exchange. So whether you are a new or a seasoned investor, I hope that this video will give you some more information that can help you to make informed decision in your investment journey. Factor number 1, the first step you have to consider is to make your objectives very clear. If you are investing, you have 2 options. You can invest for long-term benefits or short-term benefits. So make this distinct decision very clear before you start investing in the stock exchange, because it will affect the approach and the strategies that you will use when making your investment decisions. Factor number 2 to consider when you want to invest on the Malawi Stock Exchange is to have knowledge of the financial institutions that are there on the stock market. Right now, there are 16 companies listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange. It is therefore important to understand or to have a general overview of all those 16 counters on the Malawi Stock Exchange. Having a general knowledge on the listed companies will help you to choose which counters to invest in. In trying to understand companies listed on the stock market, you should be interested to know the profitability of the companies, also the debt levels which they have, the revenue growth, as well as the cash flow of those companies. These are some of the information which you can use to weigh which of the companies will be more profitable or more convenient in regards to your intended objectives of investing on the Malawi Stock Exchange. Once you have the general overview, you'll be able to narrow down and decide which companies you are really interested and you should go forward to invest in. But you don't make these decisions based on emotions. That's why it's very important that you get the data straight from the beginning and make informed decision using the data that you have collected. Information about the listed companies can be sourced on the Malawi Stock Exchange website and also on the websites of all those listed companies. You can read their financial statements, their trade statements, and any other information that you think can help you in making the decisions. Factor number 3, you also have to consider the industry or sector of the companies that you are interested in. So the companies that are listed on the Malawi Stock Exchange fall into different sectors and industry. So for example, we have telecommunications companies where you have TNM and Airtel. We also have companies in the banking sector where we have FDH, we have NBS, we have Standard Bank, National Bank, and other banks. And there are other companies in the financial services, others in tourism, others in manufacturing, and others in agriculture. So you have to also consider researching about each sector. This information will help to guide you in deciding which company to invest in or to compare when it comes to the value, the share cost, whether it will help you to know whether the shares are selling at a fair price or a high price or a discount price within that sector. Factor number 4 that you have to consider when deciding to invest in the Malawi Stock Exchange are the macroeconomic factors. Macroeconomic factors can have a significant impact on the stock prices. So it is always important to consider them when making investment decisions. Sometimes because of these macroeconomic factors, the stock prices of a particular company can go down, while it can also make other stock prices to get up. So this information will help you decide whether it's the right time to buy shares or the right time to sell shares. And it will also help you to decide at what time do you buy shares in company A or in company B. So macroeconomic factors affect these companies differently depending on the company strategies which they have as well as the sectors which they are into practice. So it is very critical to be aware of the macroeconomic factors that can affect the stock prices. So for example, factors like inflation, devaluation of the currency, the GDP growth of the country are some of the factors which can affect the stock prices. So you also have to look into how other factors can have significant impact on the price of stocks on the stock exchange. Some of these may also include things like political stability, as well as natural pandemic, like we saw previously in the COVID pandemic. And because of that COVID pandemic, the stock market was affected. Like the performance of different companies were affected differently. Some companies were negatively affected to the extent that their share prices went down. During the same pandemic, some companies continued to make consistent growth in their share prices, and others made drastic growth during the same pandemic. So these are some of the factors which have to be looked into on how they affect the companies which you are interested to invest in. Factor number 5 to consider when you want to invest on the stock exchange is the risk management. When you're entering for the first time into the stock market, you have to be aware that investing in stocks has some risk associated with it. Mind that investment on the stock exchange is different from having your money in a bank account. In your bank account, you will always get what you saved if you have a savings account. But in the stock exchange, you are not sure what you get if you want to come out of the market. So for example, if you entered the stock market with an investment of, let's say, 500,000, it will depend on the performance of the company you have invested. If the company is performing well, you should expect to come out better, or to come out of the market with more money when you want to sell your share. On the other hand, if your company is underperforming or is making losses, the value of the money you invested will decrease. So you can lose or you can gain on the stock market. This therefore calls for a good strategy where you have to mitigate these factors. One of the good strategies is to diversify your portfolio. You should invest in more than one counters instead of putting all your eggs in one basket. So for example, if you decide to invest into telecommunications, you can also take some amount to invest in maybe an agriculture company. So for example, if there are some natural or unnatural occurrences that have adversely affected the running of business in the telecommunication sector, maybe those factors will not affect the performance of companies in the agriculture sector. So it means you'll be able to gain in this agriculture sector while you have made a loss in the telecommunications company. If you have a diversified portfolio, your risk of losing is minimized. You can also diversify by investing into other assets like treasury bills. You can also invest in government bonds. In the same vein, it's also important to consider of investing an amount which you are comfortable losing. Number 6, consider consulting the professionals. So the stock market has its own professionals, people who understand how the stock market works. They do a lot of company research. They have data and they have everything that is required for a person to invest successfully and in a safe way. So it is very important to always seek professional advice on how you can go about your investment journey. Thank you for watching. Those are the 6 factors that you have to consider when you want to start investing on the Malawi Stock Exchange and to invest successfully. I wish you a happy investing journey.